America has a new climate envoy, the White House announcing who will be stepping into John Kerry's role as the top environmental official on the world stage. Plus, the European Union is making some changes to its 2040 climate proposal after a series of protests from farmers across Europe. And veterinarians in Kenya, they're celebrating after successfully completing a medical procedure that could save a rhino subspecies from extinction. Hello and welcome to EarthX News, where we focus on sustainability and the environment. I'm Christina Thompson. Let's get into some of the biggest headlines facing our planet. A nuclear power plant could soon be reopening in Michigan. Media reports indicate the Biden administration is set to offer a $1.5 billion loan to restart the Palisades nuclear plant on Lake Michigan. The funding, which is set to get conditional backing from the U.S. Energy Department, is expected to be offered in late February. Now, the DOE says it has not confirmed any loan offer, and reports about it are just, quote, mere speculation. But if successful, it would mark the first time in history that a closed U.S. nuclear plant has been reopened. Holtec International acquired the 800-megawatt power plant in 2022 after Entergy Corporation closed it due to financial reasons. But in October of 2023, Holtec began submitting plans to restart Palisades after pleas from Governor Gretchen Whitmer. More than a dozen reactors have closed since 2013 amid competition from cheaper power resources like natural gas and renewables. The Energy Department has warned that as many as half of the nation's nuclear reactors are at risk of closing due to economic factors. The White House is appointing John Podesta as the U.S.'s new chief climate diplomat. John Kerry, who previously held the position, recently announced that he'll be stepping down as U.S. Special Climate Envoy and is expected to do so sometime this spring. Podesta currently serves as a senior advisor on clean energy to the Biden administration. In his role, he will oversee some $370 billion in climate investment authorized by the Inflation Reduction Act. In the past, Podesta held high-ranking positions in both the Clinton and Obama White Houses. While serving in the Obama administration, Podesta had a large role in brokering the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. Podesta will remain at the White House for his new role instead of moving to the State Department. His new title will be Senior Advisor to the President for International Climate Policy. The United States will start to pay to add solar panels to structures such as hospitals and schools after disasters. FEMA will install them on public buildings that are rebuilt due to damage caused by extreme weather and other disasters. The goal is to make them more resilient against future calamities and create places where residents can gather if power from the grid is knocked out after a disaster. Plus, it will also reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The change comes amid major shifts in America's response to disasters. Insurers are starting to steer clear from high-risk areas, and FEMA is overhauling its programs to help individual disaster survivors after acknowledging that the current programs often fail to provide adequate support. When major disasters happen, FEMA will typically reimburse state, local, tribal, or territorial governments 75% of the cost of rebuilding or repairing structures like schools, hospitals, fire stations, libraries, and other buildings. That 75% reimbursement would now apply to the additional costs of adding solar panels and other energy-related improvements like heat pumps, batteries, or energy-efficient appliances. Companies are fully taking advantage of new clean energy tax credits. The market for clean energy tax breaks, which was created by a U.S. government program, it's surging faster than expected. Deals totaling as much as $9 billion have already been done, with tens of billions more expected this year. The tax credit transfer program for renewable energy companies was created in the 2022 climate law. Renewable energy companies often do not rake in enough profit to absorb all the tax credits they generate. The law lets them sell the credits to other companies to monetize on what they cannot use. Roughly 100 companies pursuing more than 1,000 clean energy projects have shown they plan to sell tax credits in the new market. The Danish energy company Ørsted has withdrawn from an agreement with Maryland to sell electricity from an offshore wind farm off the coast of Ocean City, potentially impacting the state's goal of achieving 100% clean energy by 2035. This after the company also recently halted similar plans for 2 offshore wind farms off the coast of New Jersey. Ørsted citing challenging market conditions like high inflation, high interest rates, and supply chain constraints. And earlier in the month, European energy firms Equinor and BP canceled their agreement with New York State to sell power from their proposed offshore wind farm, citing supply chain problems, rising inflation, and higher borrowing costs. Ørsted did, however, express the intention to continue advancing development and permitting for the combined project. The withdrawal is not a cancellation, but the steps to keep the project in motion just aren't clear at the moment. The state of Maryland says they are committed to generating 8.5 gigawatts of wind energy by 2031, contributing to the national target of 30 gigawatts in offshore wind by 2030. In other offshore wind farm news, New Jersey just approved 2 new projects, one of them the largest ever planned in the United States. The agreement includes higher rates with added provisions to prevent potential requests for future increases and cancellations. The Board of Public Utilities is working to avoid a similar fate of Ørsted's Ocean Wind 1 and Wind 2 projects when they were canceled due to factors in the market. Attentive Energy 2, which is a joint venture between Total Energies and Corio Generation, will construct the massive wind farm approximately 40 miles off the coast of New Jersey. Once operational, it will produce up to 1.34 gigawatts of electricity when winds are high enough to turn the generators. With backup from nuclear, coal, natural gas, or hydroelectric, the project's combined output will power about 1.8 million homes. That's according to the developer's estimates. The projects will increase residential electricity rates by 0.684 cents per month. That's according to E&E News, and commercial rates by about $58 per month. Industrial customers will see an increase of $513 per month. In a hearing, developers were told not to ask for any rate increases in the future, regardless of circumstances. Turning now to international news ahead of this year's Global Climate Summit, also known as COP29, the UN's climate chief is calling on countries to ramp up actions to close the financing gap when it comes to tackling climate change. Here's that story.
The United Nations climate chief says more needs to be done to meet global climate change deadlines. Simon Steele is calling for more money to meet climate goals and fewer loopholes in climate agreements.
Without far more finance, 2023's climate wins will quickly fizzle away into more empty promises.
United Nations climate officials say the next 2 years are crucial for curbing climate change. Negotiations will happen in Baku this year. Another meeting will be held in Brazil in 2025.
We must spend the year working collectively to evolve our global financial system so it's fit for purpose.
By next year, countries will be required to come up with new and stronger pledges to cut emissions of all heat-trapping gases. UN officials say encouraging countries to invest more money that could help poorer nations meet their climate goals. Steele estimates $2.4 trillion a year will be needed. That doesn't include money from China. The cash injection would be used to invest in renewable energy and help fund relief efforts from floods, storms, drought, and heat waves.
It will take an Olympian effort over the next 2 years to put us on track to where we need to be in 2030 and in 2050.
Richer nations have promised less than 5% of what's estimated to help poorer nations. Experts say they often haven't even delivered that much.
We need torrents, not trickles, of climate finance.
For EarthX, I'm John Glasgow.
In response to Europe-wide demonstrations of agricultural workers angry about the impact of low wages, heavy regulations, cheap imports, and a proposal that would force farmers to cut pesticide use across the EU, the European Commission made adjustments to some key passages of its new climate plan. In a proposal for a new 2040 goal for cutting greenhouse gas pollution, the European Commission recommended the EU/net greenhouse gas emissions by 90% by 2040. While the overall target was within the range recommended by the EU's official climate science advisors, the EU executive weakened part of the recommendation concerning agriculture, removing language that mentioned a possible 30% cut to agricultural pollution between 2015 and 2040. Also excised were recommendations for citizens to make changes to their behavior, like eating less meat and a push to end fossil fuel subsidies. One German EU lawmaker praised the more farmer-friendly language in the climate plan. Listen.
Wir müssen die Industrie.
Agriculture, industry, and all citizens need to be in a position to achieve more ambitious objectives. That's why we need a positive approach to agriculture. We should not be pushing agriculture into the corner and forcing them. We have to remember that agriculture is the only sector that actually removes CO2 from the atmosphere, and we need to stay on that path.
It is yet to be seen if these latest revisions will appease the protesters' concerns. This is an incredible story. The first successful embryo transfer using IVF in rhinos could save a rhino subspecies from extinction. At a conservancy in Kenya, veterinarians successfully transferred the embryos of 2 southern white rhinos into a surrogate mother. Now, scientists are hoping this could potentially be a way to save another subspecies, the northern white rhino. This subspecies is almost extinct, with only 2 remaining northern white rhinos, both females, in the world. BioRescue, a group trying to save the northern white rhino, has been creating embryos with eggs from one of the surviving female northern white rhinos and sperm collected from a male northern white rhino before they died. Scientists say the next step will be selecting rhinos to serve as surrogate mothers and implanting them with northern white rhino embryos. They hope to do this over the next 6 months. With northern white rhinos' pregnancies taking 16 months, northern white rhino babies could potentially be born in 2 to 3 years. Coming up, one form of renewable energy. It's getting lots of attention. Why all the chatter?
It is very rare when humanity can develop new source of energy. And in our case, this is what is happening. And right now, the interest is booming because the benefits, the upside of this technology is evident to everyone.
Stay tuned. That story is just ahead. The world's biggest commercial vehicle maker and a Middle Eastern renewable energy company are teaming up in an effort to decarbonize transportation. In a new pact, Daimler Truck and United Arab Emirates-based Masdar agreed to explore the Gulf states' supply of liquid green hydrogen, along with the feasibility of exporting clean energy source from Abu Dhabi to Europe by 2030. Now, the treaty comes as the UAE company seeks to become a leading and reliable producer and supplier of low-carbon hydrogen by 2031. And the German automaker aims to make its entire range of trucks and buses carbon neutral in driving operations across its global core markets within the next 15 years by 2039. Daimler Truck officials say the company will invest in developing fuel cell trucks with first sales of hydrogen-powered long-haul rigs starting in 2027. By 2030, Daimler aims to sell 10,000 hydrogen-powered rigs annually. The partnership is just one of the latest ventures Masdar has been involved with. Since it started in 2006, the Middle Eastern company has committed to invest over $30 billion in renewable energy projects in more than 40 countries. The partnership, aiming to explore the green hydrogen supply in the UAE, a country usually associated with fossil fuel production, comes at a time when hydrogen power appears to be emerging as a popular clean energy solution as the world strives to achieve net zero. Joining us now to discuss is the CEO of Natural Hydrogen Energy, Vyacheslav Zagonik. Vyacheslav, thank you so much for coming in. I want to get to the growing hydrogen movement in a moment, but first, I just want you to quickly expand on the efforts between Daimler Truck and a Gulf state-based energy firm seeking to create fuel cell rigs in Europe using green hydrogen.
Green hydrogen is something easy to understand, and many companies are working on this topic to manufacture and deliver green hydrogen. The process is straightforward, and as we see, big contracts are been installed in place. However, the main problem remains for green hydrogen is its cost. To make it a viable solution for a long term, we need this hydrogen to be cheap. Ideally, we will need it to be cheaper than fossil-based fuels. And it is not the case today.
So what would a hydrogen infrastructure need to look like in order to have these trucks be a viable solution?
I believe that there is another viable solution for hydrogen to be extracted from the underground. This is the topic my startup is working on. We're working on natural hydrogen. And natural hydrogen, unlike all other types of hydrogens in the hydrogen rainbow, is the only primary source of energy. So it means that we don't need to spend any energy to make hydrogen. The nature did the work for us. What we need to do is only to extract it. And economically, it makes it extremely attractive because it means that we don't need to spend electricity or for green hydrogen or natural gas for gray hydrogen or something else energy containing to make hydrogen. We already have it on the ground. And then economic models done by my company, but also by other researchers, are showing that this will be the cheapest source of hydrogen on Earth.
There's a ton of growing interest right now in the clean energy power source, but studies show that far more natural hydrogen underground than there is believed. Proponents see hydrogen as a plentiful replacement for fossil fuels. Skeptics, though, they say that its large-scale use might not be practical or cost-effective. But what do you say to that? Will tapping the hydrogen be economic, and is there an environmental downside to it?
We are still at very early stage of the development of this new resource. It is very rare when humanity can develop new source of energy. And in our case, this is what is happening. We are unveiling the potential of this new source of primary energy. As a person who's been working for 13 years on this topic, I was able to see the development when I started a long time ago to work. There were only a handful of individuals worldwide researching hydrogen underground. And right now, the interest is booming because the benefits, the upside of this technology is evident to everyone. And the estimates for the quantity of hydrogen on Earth are continuously increasing because our knowledge is continuously increasing about that topic. And answering the opponents which are saying that it may not be reliable, that the numbers today are showing that there could be 10 trillion tons of naturally occurring hydrogen trapped underground. And if we can extract even a tiny portion of that, that would supply all the hydrogen we need for the clean energy transition. We don't know if it will work, but at least it's worth trying. That's what we're doing in my startup, Natural Hydrogen Energy, but also other companies, big and small, are starting to work on this topic.
All right, Vyacheslav Zagonek, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, volunteers in Morocco work to safeguard the nation's forests. Stay tuned. We'll have more on their efforts when we return. A national reforestation campaign is underway in Morocco, with the primary part of the project taking place in northwestern province along the country's coast. Alex Salvi has that story.
Forests cover 13% of Morocco's territory, a proud part of the country's identity. But the prized site is in grave danger. Overgrazing, illegal logging, climate-induced droughts, and other factors are resulting in the rapid degradation of the ecosystem, prompting a vital campaign to try to save the forests before it's too late. Morocco's forests are also a vital component of the country's economy. The vast environment accounts for 1.5% of its total GDP and 17% of national fodder production and nearly half of Morocco's firewood. It means that the survival of the forest is not only vital to sustaining the country's environment and heritage, but also its 37 million residents. The most important characteristic of these plants is that they don't contain any weeds. Another advantage is that they are very economical and don't require much water even after being replanted. The first step of the project is rather simple: plant more trees. But it's also the type of plants that matter, with Morocco turning to over 500 million diverse plants that are disease-resistant to allow them to thrive. Further, they require minimal water, making them the perfect fit to overcome the oftentimes harsh environment under the Moroccan sun. There's a new working approach that focuses on involving local communities living near the forest. They will benefit from these operations and must be involved in their success. It's an essential part of the strategy. We also offer significant incentives to the locals, such as compensating them for relinquishing their pastoral rights. The project is only made possible due to its local involvement. Nearly $700,000 is earmarked for 18 associations across the country, involving 2,000 reforestation breeders. This is an approach that doesn't only allow the project to be sustained over time, but have a direct benefit for those most affected. It's beneficial for both the local community and the state. If the project succeeds, it will benefit the community through the trees and their acorns, as well as from the mushrooms and truffles that grow under the trees. These are the benefits of oak trees. We are eager to see this project succeed because we will get all these benefits, God willing. When it's all said and done, the project hopes to plant 600,000 hectares by the year 2030, at which point Morocco's forest and its people will hopefully thrive in their new environments. For EarthX, I'm Alex Salvi.
Alex Salvi, thank you. And one of the world's most critically endangered sharks, it's been caught on camera. Scientists captured video of the rare white-tip shark around the Cayman Islands, where they are protected. Researchers working under the UK's marine conservation project, called the Blue Belt Program, recorded the footage using a baited remote underwater video system. The shark, known for its inquisitive nature, was seen swimming around the camera and rubbing its head against the bait. Scientists say the oceanic white-tip used to be one of the most abundant species of sharks swimming in tropical waters. But over the past few decades, their numbers have dropped about 98% due to being hunted for its fins or mistakenly caught in fishing nets. Let's hope this apex predator continues to make a comeback. And an adorable moment at the Bronx Zoo in New York City, where a couple of snow leopard cubs were seen enjoying their first snowfall. The cubs were captured frolicking around in the fluffy white powder in January. Zoo officials say the little leopards were practicing their hunting skills, jumping, climbing, and sneaking up on each other. How cute. That's it for this edition of EarthX News. Please join us again next week. I'm Christina Thompson.